The funeral revelation. The funeral home was packed with mourners, their hushed voices and quiet sobs echoing softly in the air. Floral arrangements framed the open casket of 19-year-old Daniel Hayes, a beloved college student whose life had been tragically cut short in a car accident just a week earlier. His sudden death had sent shockwaves through the small town of Brookhaven, leaving his family devastated and his friends grappling with the loss. Daniel's mother, Evelyn Hayes, sat in the front row, her grief palpable. Clutching a handkerchief in one hand and a picture of her son in the other, she looked like a shadow of her former self. Evelyn had been a single mother, and Daniel was her pride and joy, a bright, ambitious young man with a promising future. She had planned to watch him graduate, succeed, and start a family. Instead, she was saying goodbye far too soon. An unexpected instinct. The service was somber and heartfelt. Friends and family members shared stories of Daniel's kindness, humor, and dreams of becoming an architect. As the pastor finished his eulogy, he invited the attendees to pay their final respects before the casket was to be closed and taken to the burial site. Evelyn, however, was overcome with a strange, inexplicable feeling. Something gnawed at her, a mother's intuition that refused to be silenced. Despite having identified Daniel's body at the morgue days earlier, she now felt an unshakable need to see him one last time, up close. She couldn't explain it, but the urge was too strong to ignore. "I need to see him," she murmured, rising from her seat. The crowd turned toward her in surprise as she approached the casket. Evelyn hesitated, her hands trembling as she reached for the lid. "Mrs. Hayes," the funeral director said gently, stepping forward. "Are you sure?" "Perhaps?" "I'm sure," Evelyn said firmly, her voice steady despite her tears. The shocking discovery. As Evelyn opened the coffin fully, the room fell silent, every eye fixed on her. She leaned over her son, her tears falling onto his suit jacket. At first, everything seemed as it should. But then she noticed something strange. Daniel's hands. They were resting neatly on his chest, but they didn't look right. Evelyn had spent countless hours holding those hands when he was a child, bandaging scraped knuckles and clasping them in prayer. Now, something about their shape struck her as wrong. Her heart raced as she gently lifted one of his hands, examining it closely. The skin felt different, cooler and smoother than she expected. As her eyes roamed over the rest of his body, she noticed other details that seemed off: the contour of his jawline, the faint discoloration near his neck, and a scar on his left arm that was missing. Evelyn gasped, stepping back from the casket. "This isn't my son," she cried. The room erupted in confusion and disbelief. The pastor rushed forward, and Daniel's friends and family crowded around, their voices overlapping. "What do you mean? Of course it's him. Evelyn, you're just upset." "No." Evelyn shouted, her voice ringing with conviction. "This isn't Daniel. I know my son, and this isn't him." Chaos unfolds. The funeral director, pale and visibly shaken, approached the casket. "Mrs. Hayes, please," he said, attempting to calm her. "I can assure you that." "Check his arm." Evelyn interrupted. "Daniel has a birthmark on his right forearm. Look for it." The director hesitated, but under the intense gaze of the crowd, he reluctantly rolled up the sleeve of the body's jacket. The room collectively held its breath. There was no birthmark. The silence was deafening. Evelyn's knees buckled, and someone rushed to catch her. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room as the truth began to sink in. "This isn't him," someone whispered. "Then where is Daniel?" another voice asked. Unraveling the mystery. As the funeral descended into chaos, the police were called. The casket was immediately sealed and taken away as evidence, and Evelyn's home was placed under surveillance. An investigation was launched, revealing shocking details about the funeral home. The director admitted to a mix-up at the morgue. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a horrifying truth: Daniel's body had been stolen. Further inquiry led them to an underground black market operation, dealing in organs and cadavers for profit. The fake body had been used as a cover, hastily substituted to avoid suspicion. The unexpected ending. After weeks of relentless searching, Daniel's actual body was recovered, partially intact, from a warehouse several towns away. Though it was a devastating discovery, Evelyn found solace in being able to finally lay her son to rest properly. The scandal rocked the community, prompting changes in local morgue and funeral practices to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. Evelyn became an advocate for grieving families, using her story to bring attention to the importance of oversight and accountability in the funeral industry. Though she would never recover from the loss of her son, Evelyn's determination to uncover the truth brought justice to those involved and peace to her son's memory.